Hey folks, it's Amy from Colorado Mountain Living, and I wanted to share with you another fun video of how it's made. This is another type of jewelry fabrication that I do when I work with silver. Now, a lot of people work with sheet silver or silver wire, but I work with a material called silver clay. Sounds like it's just silver colored clay, but it's actually powderized silver in a clay form. Basically what happens is that you get the powderized silver in a binder in water, and it makes a type of clay that you can mold and shape into different shapes. And then what you do after you get it into the desired shape is that you fire it in a kiln, and a kiln will burn off all of the moisture in the binder and it will fuse together the silver particles. So you get a piece of silver that's 100% pure. So it's really nice for making fine silver jewelry and especially nice for making my honeycomb jewelry. So let me show you how it's made. This is the brand of clay that I like to use. This is called PMC3. This is the one that's made by the Mitsubishi company. And I like PMC3 because it's a fine silver and you can fire it in about 10 minutes in a kiln and it's ready to go. So it doesn't take very long to fire it. Now when you take it out of the package, you get, this is what 50 grams of silver clay looks like. If you're buying it, it's about $97 for 50 grams of silver clay. But as expensive as it is, it gives you a lot more flexibility and out-of-the-box creativity to create things that you can't create with normal silver wire or sheet metal. So you can sculpt this just like clay and fire it into any design that you like, and it will fuse into 100% fine silver. So it's a really great product. And the other cool thing about it is that after it's fired, and you burnish it and you bring out the shine, it will never tarnish because it's fine silver. So let's move on to the next step. So before you start working with clay, you want a few key tools. One, okay, you got your clay nearby. Keep it wrapped up really well. In our dry climate, I had to really keep an eye on it because once it gets dried out, it's a real pain to rehydrate. Two, you want some kind of oil. I'm using avocado oil. Just putting it on my fingers so I don't stick to the clay. I'm going to also put it on my rolling pin to kind of lube that up so it's not super sticky. I'm going to put it on my sheeting that I'm using to roll out my clay. This is just a little piece of aluminum flashing. Any smooth surface is fine. And then I'm using a honeycomb mold I made out of silicone and a real piece of honeycomb. So that's going to give me my honeycomb pattern. And I just put my clay into here and press it in and then pull it out and cut it into shapes. So I want to keep this slightly lubed up as well. I don't want it soaking in oil, but I want it so the clay can come out. I only use a small piece at a time. So instead of working with this whole 50-gram unit, I am very conservative and just pinch off small pieces at a time. So I'm just going to pinch off a piece and then wrap it back up really, really well. Put it aside and then get the pieces off my fingers. So I'm going to roll it semi-flat, and then I'm going to put it back in my mold. And then I'm going to press my flat sheeting so I can get some good texture. And then when I pop it out, the honeycomb pattern's a little bit deeper. At least I can get one good cut out of it. So I'm going to use my hexagon cutter and get a nice hexagon shape. I'm going to peel away the excess. Gently peel up my hexagon silver clay and put it on the box to dry. So there we go. That's it. I think I can get one more out of this small piece. Pre-press, roll, put it into the mold. Press. Good texture pattern. I like it. I'm going to cut it out with another hexagon. The hexagon silver necklaces are very popular, so I'm making a lot of them this summer for my shows. So here are my pieces after I've rolled them out and shaped them, and they've dried overnight. They have a whitish color to them. So at this point, this is where you can sand down the clay. You can drill holes into it to make little places where you can hang it from a necklace or earring. This is like the intermediate stage where this is still clay form and it's still very fragile. It's dry though, but this is the stage where you're going to want to sand things and get the final shape before you fire it into silver. Because once it's in the form of fused silver, it's a lot more difficult to file down an edge. It's still possible, but it's a lot easier to do it when it's still in clay form. So I also have to add holes in these pieces because they would really be cool as coins, but I'd prefer to use them as jewelry. So it's easiest to do when it's still wet clay, but I can still do it when it's dry clay as well. It's a lot harder to do when it's already silver. And just to give you a reference of what you can make with 50 grams of silver, I've got about 16 pieces here that will all become pendants. And so about 16 pieces is what I got out of 50 grams of silver clay. The next step is to drill the holes. So I've pretty much sanded down all of the edges so they're a lot more smooth and less raggedy looking. The next thing I'm going to do is use my little handheld Dremel tool. Next step is to drill out. All right, so next step is to get the kiln ready to put the pieces in that are ready to fire. So when I mentioned kiln, you were probably thinking about a giant ceramics kiln or a pottery kiln, but what I use for jewelry making is what is called a jewelry kiln or a tabletop kiln. This is a Paragon SC3 kiln. When you open it up, you've got your firing area. I use ceramic shelving to put my pieces on. There's a thermocouple in the back that measures the temperature, and it plugs into a standard outlet. I'm turning it on right now, so it makes a really big beeping sound. And it's programmable. You can program your temperature and your time, and even different levels of firing. You can program it to go to a certain level, burn off your compounds, and then go to a higher level so it will fuse the metals. Luckily, with fine silver using PMC3, it's a very straightforward process. The binder can burn out and your metal will fuse in a matter of minutes. So that's why I really enjoy using PMC3. To get started, I'm going to go to the programs that are preset. 1290 for about an hour. And when it gets to the right temperature, which I set at 1290 degrees, it will start clicking. The relay will start going to maintain that temperature, so that's when I know that it's at the temperature I need to add the silver pieces. So the kiln is at temperature, and it's counting down now. I set it for about an hour, but we only need it for 15 minutes. So here we go. I'm going to open it up. I've got some tongs here that have a flat spot, and I'm able to hold on to my brick, and I'll be able to slide it into place. So you'll see how red it is when I open up the door. You might be able to see the heating elements in the side. I'm going to put it down gently on the blocks, close it up. The other reason, besides getting ready for shows, the other reason I'm doing a lot of production right now is because I don't know what our electricity situation is going to be when we move into our property. You know, we're planning on doing solar, but I'm not sure how a solar setup is going to be able to handle a kiln like this. All right, so it's been 10 minutes at the right temperature, and it's time to take them out of the oven. So I'm going to show you this up close because it's incredible. And I know I'm wearing yellow dish gloves, like rubber gloves, but it's just a thin little layer of heat protection. Woo, heat coming out. So I'm going to lift up my it's a little heavy because it's ceramic, but look how cool the silver came out. Fine silver looks white, fresh out of the oven. I've made the mistake before thinking that these weren't red hot metal and touched it with my finger and burnt my finger really badly. So, lesson learned. But the next step after these cool is to burnish them. Burnishing is kind of like rubbing the metal to get the shine to come out. So that's the next step, and I'll show you how easy that is if you've got the right tools. Just very interesting that these look like clay still. You would think that nothing happened in the kiln and that everything got messed up and they turned into plastic because they're so white, but Don't be fooled. As soon as they cool, I will show you how awesome they look after they get tumbled and burnished. All right, these are cooled off a little bit. Here's some proof that they really are made out of silver. Kind of get that silver clink. So the final step to polish them up is to throw them into a rock tumbler. And nothing special, there's already water in it. These still are just a little bit hot for me to hold on to for a long period of time. And then I'll tumble these for an hour or so, and then we'll see how they look after they get burnished. All right, here comes the silver out of the tumbler. It's soapy in there with dirty water, but I'm gonna get the pieces out and rinse them, and then here's one. Can't really tell, it's a little dirty looking, but I'm gonna rinse them all so you can see what they look like. All right, so look at these cool pieces. Nice and bright and shiny silver. They've got that nice silver clink. So one more step to make this a finished necklace is putting it on the chain and adding a little bee charm. So I'll show you the final product. All right, we are on the very last step here. So this requires some jewelry making tools. I've got some pliers here. I'm going to be adding a little gold bee charm to the honeycomb. So I'm going to twist open a jump ring, add a little gold colored bee charm, and then I'm going to add it to my honeycomb, silver honeycomb. And then on the same piece, the same ring, I'm going to throw on my silver chain. So it all fits inside the jump ring, and I just need to close it. So close it up, and then we've got our finished honeycomb silver necklace. That's how it's made. Be happy life.